Hey everyone, I'm back again. Minister James Moss. I'm here with continuing education, and we are in the book of Luke. We are in the 23rd chapter of Luke, which means what? We're down into the Passion. All right, we're covering verses 32 through 43, and this one is entitled Jesus is Placed on the Cross. Okay? All right, so we're going to get right to it, all right? Even during the final hours of Jesus' life, when he struggled in agony for his last gasp of air, people reacted to him in a variety of ways. Even the two men who were being crucified with Jesus had starkly different reactions to Jesus. All right, so, and I like to, before we get into it, I've not read the commentaries or anything, but just the fact that the two men had polar opposite views of Jesus as they neared death, it also shows how people are, the world is, either you're for him or against him. And it just shows that, it's so much in it. We're going to get right into the lesson. Okay, here we go. And there were also two other malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be the Christ, the chosen of God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the King of the Jews, save thyself. And a superscription also was written over him in the letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew, This is the King of the Jews. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing that thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we received the due reward of our deeds. But this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. All right. Verses 32 and 33. Jesus was not the only criminal executed that morning. Two others were also led out to be crucified. In his death, Jesus truly was numbered among transgressors. The place called the Skull may have been a regular place of execution. It was prominent, public, and outside the city along a main road. Executions held there served as examples to the people and to deterrence as deterrents to criminals. All right. The words are direct, but the full meaning was horrific. All three were crucified there. Instituted by the Romans, crucifixion was a feared and shameful form of execution. It was designed to prolong the gruesome pain. There were several shapes of crosses several different methods of crucifixion. Death would come by suffocation as the person would lose strength and the weight of the body would make breathing more and more difficult. Crucifixion was the harshest form of capital punishment in the ancient world. Verse 34, Jesus spoke only a few times from the cross, and his prayer of forgiveness were the first words he said. Jesus asked his Father to forgive his killers. Jesus lived and died by the words he preached. Love your enemies. They don't know what they're doing. Refers most likely to the Jews, not the Roman soldiers, although all who participated in Jesus' death were included in his prayer for forgiveness. The Jews made a serious mistake, for they failed to realize God's plan for their nation. Roman soldiers customarily would divide up the clothing of executed criminals among themselves. When they gambled for Jesus' clothes, they fulfilled the prophecy in Psalm 22 and 18. Jesus was crucified naked. John recorded that 4 soldiers divided the garments. Verse 35. These men, hanging in extreme pain and humiliation on their crosses, provided hours of grisly entertainment for spectators. Luke pointed specifically at the leaders who had followed Jesus to the execution site, watched him be crucified, and now laughed and scoffed at him. Jesus had gone about the countryside healing people, but he could not save himself. They assumed that if he truly had God's divine favor, as he had claimed, then he would be able to get himself out of his present predicament. Jesus' position here, or there on the cross, proved them to be proved them that he was not any kind of Messiah as far as they were concerned. Unfortunately, they missed the fact that this entire episode had been prophesied and was all proceeding exactly as God had planned. Verses 36 and 37, the soldiers had the duty that day of sitting and waiting until the men on the crosses died. They had already divided up the clothing and then began mocking the man on the cross who had claimed to be a king. Only Luke wrote of this offer of sour wine as part of the soldiers' mockery. They too called up to him to save himself if he were indeed the king of the Jews. Verse 38, the signboard stated that the condemned person's crime was placed on the cross as a warning. According to John, Pilate wrote this sign in 3 languages, Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. The 3 languages meant that people of any nationality passing that way would be able to read the sign. Because Jesus was never found guilty, the only accusation placed on his sign was the crime of calling himself King of the Jews. Perhaps this was another way for Pilate to show contempt for the Jews. Here was their king, stripped and executed in public view. Verse 39, one of the criminals scoffed at Jesus, even though the three men were facing the same horrible deaths. One of them seems to have picked up on the taunts of the religious leaders. If Jesus were indeed the Messiah, then he should save himself and them. Obviously, these words were no more than barbed sarcasm. All 3 were beyond hope, beyond the point of being saved physically. Verses 40 through 43. The other criminal, however, protested, pointing out that they deserved their sentence, but Jesus did not. There on the cross, receiving punishment for what his deeds deserved, this criminal faced himself, feared God, and said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus replied, I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise. The dying criminal had more faith than all the rest of Jesus' followers put together. By all appearances, the kingdom was finished. How awe-inspiring is the faith of this man who alone saw beyond the present shame to the coming glory. All right, and that does it for this video. Jesus is placed on the cross. Read it. Take it in. And know this is what he's done for us. He did this for us. Take it in. Let it soak. Let it settle in your spirit. The sacrifice that was made for all of us. Until next time, God bless you. God keep you. Continue to study.